folks that get older have a lot of problems in their life, housing and different things, medical and all, but one of them shouldn't be abuse. Where do you see this story?
Older people today are more visible, more active, and more independent than ever before. They are living longer and in better health. But as the population of older Americans grow, so does the hidden problem of elder abuse, exploitation, and neglect. According to the American Psychological Association, every year an estimated 2.1 million older Americans are victims of physical, psychological, financial, or other forms of abuse and neglect. Those statistics may not tell the whole story. For every case of elder abuse and neglect that is reported to authorities, experts estimate that there may be as many as 5 cases that have not been reported. Recent research suggests that elders who have been abused tend to die earlier than those who are not abused, even in the absence of chronic conditions or life-threatening disease. Let's take a look at how Livingston County, Michigan, decided to deal with this serious issue.
The SAFE Task Force actually started, we had our first meeting in September, but I started probably 3-4 months prior to that, trying to gain support, talking to my colleagues here in Livingston County, and working with the Area Agency on Aging 1B in order to get the program off and running. In October, the Area Agency on Aging applied for a grant for us from the Elder Justice Coalition, and we received it, and it was a $10,000 grant, which we are using right now to promote our program and some services for the seniors.
The SAVE Task Force began, Sue Ann had a vision. There's actually an Oakland County SAVE Task Force that we kind of modeled this group after. Sue Ann and I both attended the Oakland County one, and she thought we needed to bring this to Livingston County, and so it was really her vision of bringing it here. And so that's what we did, was we the two of us worked together, bringing the group together, and I will tell you right off the bat, everybody in Livingston County was on board. From the very first meeting, we had 20 people in attendance, and that number has just grown today. So we mirrored it off of the Oakland County group and brought it here to tailor it to fit the needs of this county.
The focus of this training is to really enhance and to broaden their perspective as to how to look at elder abuse cases, how to prosecute them, how to investigate them, let me back up, how to identify them, and then how to investigate them, and subsequently how to prosecute them.
When there is abuse happening, it is by a caregiver or a loved one, even family members. And it's a stress that they didn't expect to have in their life. So, and even, I mean, abuse is a broad term. It's not saying that these people are going home and beating their parents at night. They could be misusing their funds, spending their money on themselves, just ignoring them, not giving them the care that they really need.
Well, I think it's really difficult, and I think that's why we don't see a lot of those cases actually being brought to prosecution's attention, brought to the criminal justice system's attention, because people are very wary of pressing charges against a family member. You know, you're talking about somebody who they understand that what they're doing may not be okay, that they're taking advantage of them, but it's a whole other situation to actually press charges and to be on the other end of it saying that not only do I not appreciate what's happening and that what shouldn't be happening to me, but that I'm going to make sure that you get in trouble for it. It's a whole other step. And so the estimates as far as elder abuse is concerned is that they think that about 1 out of 14 incidents that happen are actually those that get brought to criminal justice's attention. And so you see a lot of people not going forward with that case. Should they choose to go forward with that, and charges are being brought against that person, whether it's a caregiver or a family member, that process is, again, really difficult, because they have to then testify and say that this person that they love, that is a part of their family, that is a part of who they are, basically, is one that's taking advantage of them. So that process can be really, really difficult and really intimidating for somebody to be in, and not knowing what's going to happen next, and not knowing maybe of the retribution that might happen because the charges are then being brought against them.
Anybody can be affected. You need to be aware. You need to look for signs. You need to look out for others. Right now it's the education and awareness and getting that information that it can happen to you out there to people, and along with that, the resources of agencies and organizations and groups like these that can help if you have a question, or if you're concerned, or if you think that you've become a victim, how does that process work to get the help that you need? There are a couple numbers they can call. There's a Michigan hotline number that they can call and just ask general questions. Everything is confidential through that helpline. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week helpline. They would just call, ask their questions or concerns. And right here in Livingston County, there is LACASA, which they help with that too. Again, confidential.
That's difficult. We're working with law enforcement, and law enforcement, as you heard in there in the meeting, Elder Law of Michigan is also working on training law enforcement on working on some of these issues. It's a lot of investigations from the family and getting the paperwork together and working on the steps to make sure that things are being done, such as with the family I just told you about with the financial exploitation of the grandson. The family had to get the bank records, get the credit cards, and talk to the credit card companies to find out where these things were taking place, what was being bought, who signed the credit cards, in order to determine who's doing what in order to help that individual, and then take that information to the police.
Well, it typically would be reported first to a police department who do the investigation. Once they completed the investigation, they would turn it over to our office for review. We would have to make some determination that it fit the legal requirements for a violation of the law. Then what we would do, and we have done with children in the past, and we have tried to do it with vulnerable adults as well, is that we bring them in and sit down and talk with them and say, all right, this is what the court system is going to, this is what is going to be expected of you, this is what it would be like. In children, we take them over to the courtroom. I think in a few instances we have taken the vulnerable adults to the courtroom and say, here's what the courtroom looks like, here's where everybody's going to be sitting. So they have some, it takes away some of the apprehension about what's going to occur.
I think that's another part of the underreporting and the trickiness that comes with that, is because if a person does have a history of dementia or Alzheimer's, how do you look at that? And I think that's a huge barrier to the reporting and the prosecution and things like that. And I will say that Elder Law of Michigan is coming out here along with the SAVE Task Force to provide a training specifically for law enforcement to identify the needs and ways to prosecute, and Alzheimer's and dementia is on that agenda. So that's coming up in May. So that will hopefully address a lot of the concerns for people out there.
Mm-hmm. One thing I think is important that we did with in the area of reporting suspected child abuse is that we provided for civil and criminal immunity for anybody who reported suspected child abuse in good faith. And I think that perhaps something like that in the area of elder abuse, to encourage people to report in good faith, and that an investigation take place, and maybe it turns up to be nothing, which is what we would hope they all would be. But in those situations where something may be going on, it gives a means for that reporting to be done without somebody having to worry about whether they've done something wrong or may face some sort of legal liability. I
would say the most important thing coming up that we have is the International Day of Awareness, which will be held in Howell. It will be a walk. We're going to be at the Opera House in Howell, and we'll walk around a couple blocks down there. The sheriff will be speaking at the event. We're going to invite local legislators, commissioners, and there will be sandwich boards set up around with statistics and facts about elder abuse. There will also be resource tables available for people who may need a variety of services, just general information for them. But that's coming up on June 15th, beginning at 11 o'clock.
Education is the key in the prevention of elder abuse. Media coverage of abuse in nursing homes has created a public outcry against abusive treatment in those settings. But because most abuse occurs in the home by family members or caregivers, there needs to be a concerted effort to educate the public about the special needs and problems of the elderly and about the risk factors for abuse. The Livingston County SAVE Task Force is working hard to ensure that their community protects all vulnerable people and that they take a zero-tolerance approach to the issue of elder abuse.
It's certainly about time we started taking a real look at elder abuse. Well, that's it for this week's show. If you have any concerns, get a hold of us at awiderworld.com. And thanks for watching. Don't forget, please support your local PBS station.